The ring caught the light when she laughed. We were sitting in the kitchen of the house I'd spent 3 years fixing up. The one with the electrical I'd rewired myself on weekends, the plumbing I'd replaced section by section. September evening, windows open, smell of cut grass drifting in from the yard. She'd come home late again, 4th time that week, and I'd made dinner anyway. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, the kind of meal she used to say she appreciated back when appreciation was still part of our vocabulary. "You think this ring means something?" she said, holding up her left hand. The diamond caught the overhead fixture I'd installed last spring. "It just keeps you quiet." Her name was Victoria, corporate compliance officer at a regional medical supply distributor. 6-figure salary, corner office, the kind of job where she talked about stakeholders and deliverables at dinner parties. I worked municipal inspections, checking electrical work, and HVAC installations across the county. Steady paycheck, union benefits, nothing glamorous. She'd liked that stability once, or said she did. I looked at my own hand, still holding the fork I'd been using to push food around my plate. The food had gone cold while she'd been explaining why she needed to work late again tomorrow, and the day after, and probably Friday too. "Then it worked," I said. Her expression shifted. Not guilt, nothing soft like that. Annoyance, maybe. Like I'd interrupted a script she'd been rehearsing. I reached into my jacket, still wearing it because I'd only been home 20 minutes when she'd walked in, and pulled out a small velvet box. Not the one she was expecting. This one was different. I set it on the table between us, didn't open it, didn't explain. She stared at it, then at me. Her face went through several configurations trying to decode what kind of move this was. Proposal redux, guilt gift, something else entirely. "What's that?" she asked. "Something I've been carrying around," I said. "Thought maybe it was time to put it down." I stood up, scraped my plate into the disposal, rinsed it clean. The water ran hot almost immediately because I'd upgraded the water heater last month. Everything in this house worked the way it was supposed to. Everything except us. "You're not even going to ask?" she said behind me. "Ask what?" "About where I've been, about why I've been working late." I dried my hands on the dish towel, folded it precisely, hung it on the oven handle, turned to face her. She was still sitting, still staring at that box like it might contain evidence of something she couldn't quite remember doing. "No," I said. "I'm not going to ask." "Why not?" "Because you'd tell me a story," I said, "and I'd pretend to believe it, and we'd do this dance where you think I'm stupid and I let you think that because it's easier than dealing with what comes next." Something flickered across her face then. Not fear, not yet, but something adjacent to it. Recognition, maybe. The understanding that a script had been flipped, roles reassigned without her permission. "I don't think you're stupid," she said. "Yes, you do," I said. "You've been thinking it for months, maybe longer." I grabbed my keys from the counter. The ones on the carabiner she'd always said looked childish. Municipal vehicle fob, house keys, the little LED flashlight I used for inspection work, practical tools for a practical life. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Hardware store," I said. "Need a new drill bit." "At 9 o'clock at night?" 24-hour place on Route 7, I said. "Good selection." I left her sitting there with that box on the table. Didn't look back, didn't slam the door, just walked out to my truck. 10-year-old F-150, dented tailgate, runs like a dream because I maintain it properly, and drove. But I didn't go to the hardware store. I drove to the Quick Stop on Ashland Avenue, the one with the parking lot that overlooks the medical complex where Victoria's company leased 3 floors. Her car was still in the garage. I could see it from where I sat, engine idling, radio playing some classic rock station that wasn't quite loud enough to drown out my thoughts. I'd been here before, Tuesday night last week, Thursday before that. Watching isn't stalking if it's your own wife, I figured. Though I wasn't watching her, not really. I was watching the other car that always parked near hers. Silver Audi A6. Vanity plate that read Closer, because apparently subtlety wasn't a priority for guys who worked in pharmaceutical sales. I knew him by sight now. Tall, probably played college lacrosse or rowing or something that required expensive equipment and good teeth. The kind of guy who wore his collar just loose enough to seem casual while still projecting authority. Perfect haircut. Perfect smile. Perfect everything. His name was Tyler Brennan. I knew because I'd seen his business card in Victoria's car last month, tucked into the visor like it belonged there. I watched him walk out of the building at 9:45, phone pressed to his ear, laughing at something the person on the other end said. He had that loose-limbed confidence of someone who'd never been punched in the face, never had to fix his own sink, never wondered if the mortgage would clear before his paycheck landed. Victoria came out 6 minutes later. Different outfit than she'd been wearing at dinner. the blue dress, the one she saved for occasions. They didn't touch in the parking garage. Too many cameras, too many witnesses. But they walked to their cars in parallel, maintaining that careful distance that screamed intimacy more than any embrace could have. I sat there until they both drove away, her going west toward home, him going east toward the newer developments where starter homes cost what our whole house was worth. Then I drove to the 24-hour hardware store on Route 7, bought a drill bit I didn't need, and went home with a receipt that proved I'd been exactly where I said I'd be. Victoria was in bed when I got back. Bedroom door closed, lights off. The velvet box was gone from the table. I didn't bother looking for it. Didn't matter where she'd put it or what she'd done with it. What mattered was that she'd kept it. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, and opened the spreadsheet I'd been building for the last 3 weeks. Dates, times, locations, everything I'd observed, documented with the same methodical precision I use for electrical code violations and zoning infractions. I wasn't gathering evidence for divorce court. Wasn't planning to confront her with printouts and timelines and demands for explanations. I was planning something else entirely. The trick with revenge, I'd realized, wasn't rage. Rage was sloppy. Rage was screaming matches and broken dishes and police showing up to take statements. Rage was what people expected when they got caught. The explosion they could navigate and defend against and ultimately use to make you look unstable. No, the trick was staying calm, staying methodical, treating the whole thing like an inspection job, identifying violations one by one, documenting everything, building a case that couldn't be argued away or dismissed. The trick was making them think you didn't care. I added tonight's observations to the spreadsheet. Arrival time, departure time, the fact that she'd changed clothes at the office. And then I closed the laptop and sat in the dark kitchen of the house I'd built, listening to my wife sleep in the bed we used to share. And I felt nothing at all, which meant I was ready. I stopped arguing completely. Victoria noticed after 3 days. That's how long it took for the absence of resistance to register as its own kind of threat. The way silence can be louder than screaming if you know what you're listening for. "You're being weird," she said Thursday morning. I was making breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, coffee already brewed. She was dressed for work, the gray suit that made her look like every other middle management professional trying to convince people she had authority. "How's that?" I asked. "You're just, I don't know, agreeable." "Want me to start fighting about things?" "No, I just—" She stopped, recalibrated. Never mind. I plated her eggs, set them on the table with her coffee the way she liked it, 2 creams, no sugar. She stared at the plate like I'd served her something suspicious. "What's wrong with them?" she asked. "Nothing," I said. "Made them the way you like." She ate quickly, checking her phone between bites, and left for work without kissing me goodbye. We'd stopped doing that months ago, but she used to at least say something. Now she just grabbed her bag and walked out, heels clicking on the hardwood I'd refinished 2 summers ago. I gave her a 15-minute head start, then I left too. Municipal Inspection's office was downtown, 3rd floor of a building that predated most modern electrical codes. I shared a cubicle space with Danny Kowalski, 22 years on the job, probably would retire in his chair someday. "You look like you slept," Danny said when I walked in. "Did," I said. "That's new." Got tired of not sleeping. He grunted, went back to his coffee and his clipboard. Danny was good people. Didn't ask questions that weren't his business, wouldn't remember this conversation in an hour. Perfect witness to normalcy. I spent the morning doing actual work. Commercial inspection at a new restaurant build-out on Fletcher Street, residential permit review for a kitchen renovation, follow-up on a complaint about illegal wiring in a rental property. Clean work, documented work, the kind that generated paper trails and timestamps. Lunch was a sandwich from the deli on Main Street, eaten in my truck while I reviewed my personal notes. Not the spreadsheet. That stayed home, encrypted, backed up to a flash drive I kept in my toolbox. These were mental notes, patterns I'd started seeing. Tyler Brennan worked Tuesdays and Thursdays in the regional office. Other days he traveled, sales calls, client meetings, the kind of schedule that looked legitimate on paper but provided plenty of gaps for extracurricular activities. Victoria's late nights lined up perfectly with his local days. The correlation was too clean to be coincidence. But correlation wasn't the story. The story was in the details that didn't match, like how Victoria had suddenly started going to the gym at lunch, something she'd never done before. The gym bag in her car had tags still on it, or how her phone, which used to sit face up on the kitchen counter, now lived screen down in her purse, or how she'd changed her laptop password, the one that had been our wedding date for 3 years. Little things. Behavioral shifts that spelled out a narrative if you bothered to read it. I finished my sandwich, drove to the gym Victoria claimed to be attending. It was a franchise place, glass front, rows of equipment visible from the parking lot. I sat there from 12:15 to 1:30. Victoria's car never showed up. Hers wasn't there, but Tyler's was. Silver Audi, vanity plate, parked near the back entrance. He came out at 1:40 wearing gym clothes, hair still dry, carrying the same bag he'd walked in with. Funny how some people's workouts didn't involve sweating. I added the observation to my mental inventory and drove back to work. Afternoon was more inspections, more paperwork, more of the methodical routine that kept paychecks flowing and suspicions dormant. Evening was when things got interesting. Victoria came home at 6:30, earlier than usual. She seemed lighter somehow, like she'd burned off tension somewhere between the office and our driveway. She made a comment about ordering takeout, said she was tired of cooking. "Sure," I said. "Whatever you want." We sat on the couch with Chinese food, watching television we weren't really watching, existing in the same space without quite occupying it together. She laughed at something on screen, genuine laughter, the kind she used to aim at me before it all went sideways. "Do you ever miss when things were easier?" she asked during a commercial break. "What things?" "Us, before everything got complicated." I looked at her then, really looked. She seemed almost sincere, like she'd temporarily forgotten she was the one who'd made things complicated. Like the last 6 months had just happened to us, weather we couldn't control, acts of God. "Yeah," I said, "I miss that." She smiled, small and sad, and for a second I almost felt something, almost let the anger slip, almost believed this might be her trying to find a way back. Then her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She didn't look at it, but her whole body shifted, attention redirecting like a compass finding north. The smile stayed on her face but stopped reaching her eyes. "You should get that," I said. "It's nothing," she said. "Might be work." "It can wait." The phone buzzed again, then a third time. Text messages, coming in rapid sequence, the kind of cadence that suggested conversation, not corporate updates. She picked it up finally, glanced at the screen, typed something quick. Set it back down, face down. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine," she said. "Just a coworker." "About what?" "Project thing, boring compliance stuff." "At 7 o'clock at night?" "It's a busy season." "Isn't it always?" She looked at me then, trying to gauge whether that was a question or an accusation. I kept my expression neutral, interested but not suspicious, the face of someone who believed the story because why wouldn't he? "Yeah," she said, "pretty much always." We went back to the television. She checked her phone twice more before bed, both times angling away like I couldn't see her screen in the reflection on the window behind her. Tyler Brennan's name didn't appear, but the smile that flickered across her face when she read the messages told me everything I needed to know about who was sending them. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and did the kind of research that doesn't leave browser history. Tyler Brennan maintained a public social media presence, the kind salespeople use to project success and generate leads. Photos of him at conferences, at client dinners, at charity events wearing expensive casual wear, and photos of him at Brennan Family Motors, the dealership his father owned 2 towns over. Tyler wasn't just a pharmaceutical sales rep. He was also co-owner of a business that sold overpriced sedans to people who thought German engineering meant something more than scheduled maintenance costs. The dealership had reviews online. Recent ones mentioned Tyler specifically, praising his salesmanship, his ability to make people feel special during negotiations. A few mentioned how he always had time for follow-up calls, how he really cared about customer satisfaction. One review, posted 2 months ago, mentioned seeing him having dinner with a client at an Italian place downtown. The reviewer thought it was impressive dedication, taking client relationships that seriously. The Italian place was Rossini's, the one with the patio seating and the wine list Victoria had been talking about wanting to try. I closed the laptop and stared at the dark window over the sink, watching my reflection stare back. The face looked calm. Tired, maybe, but calm. Like a guy who'd accepted things were broken and wasn't planning to fix them. That was the right face. That was the face that would keep them comfortable, keep them careless, keep them convinced they'd gotten away with something. Meanwhile, I kept watching, kept documenting, kept building a picture of exactly how stupid they thought I was, and I started planning how to make them regret that assessment. Tyler Brennan's mistake was thinking he was invisible. Sales guys like him operate on confidence and assumption. They assume people believe them because they smile right, because they dress well, because they project authority through expensive accessories and practice charm. They assume they're smarter than everyone in the room because their paycheck suggests success and success suggests intelligence. They assume nobody's watching because why would anyone bother watching them? I was bothering. It was Tuesday afternoon, week 3 of my observation phase, when I got my opening. Municipal work has advantages civilians don't appreciate: legal access to properties, public records, permitting databases. I'd been reviewing commercial inspection requests, routine stuff, when I noticed Brennan Family Motors had applied for an electrical permit. Expansion of their service bay, additional lighting, upgraded panel to handle increased load. The inspection was scheduled for Wednesday morning. I arranged to take it. The dealership sat on a prime lot near the highway, all glass and chrome and flags snapping in the October wind, 20 vehicles on display outside, another dozen visible through the showroom windows, the kind of place where they offered you cappuccino while you negotiated and acted like they were doing you a favor at every price point. I parked in the service area around back, clipboard and tablet in hand, high visibility vest over my jacket. Official business, everything documented. The service manager met me at the bay entrance, walked me through the electrical work. Clean installation, properly grounded, panel labeled correctly. I tested circuits, verified loads, checked wire gauges against code requirements. Everything was fine, which meant I could take my time without raising suspicion. Tyler showed up 20 minutes into the inspection, probably alerted by someone that a municipal inspector was on site. He came through the service bay door like he owned it, which technically he did, wearing a suit that cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. "Everything looking good?" he asked. Big smile, extended hand, the whole performance. I shook his hand. Firm grip, maintained eye contact, the basics of social dominance that guys like him learned in college seminars about leadership. "Solid work," I said. "Should pass without issues." "Great to hear. Always want to make sure we're doing things right." "Noticed your name on the paperwork," I said. "You part of ownership?" "Co-owner with my father," he said. Pride in his voice, the kind that comes from inherited equity. "Been in the family 30 years. "Nice business," I said. "Profitable area." "We do well," he said. Modest brag, practiced humility. "Lot of competition, but we've built strong relationships. Customer service is everything in this business." "Relationships are important," I agreed. Something in how I said it made him pause. Just a flicker, barely noticeable, but I saw it. The moment where charm met uncertainty, where his script encountered something unplanned. "You need anything else for the inspection?" he asked. "Just finishing up the documentation," I said. "Shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. "Take your time," he said. Back to smooth, back to confident. "Let me know if you need anything." He walked away, phone already to his ear, laughing at something someone said. I watched him go, watched how he moved through space like it existed to accommodate him. Then I finished my inspection, signed off on the permit, and left through the front showroom. The Audi was parked near the building entrance, vanity plate gleaming in afternoon sun. Nobody was around, sales staff inside helping customers, service techs busy in the bays. Just me and the expensive vehicle in a public parking lot where security cameras covered transactions but didn't necessarily capture everything. I walked past it to my truck, started the engine, then sat there for 5 minutes checking messages on my phone, watched the building entrance through my mirrors. Nobody came out. I got out of my truck, walked back toward the showroom like I'd forgotten something, paused by the Audi. Pulled out my inspection flashlight. Heavy metal body, LED bulb, the kind that doubles as a window breaker in emergencies. And examined the driver's side mirror. These mirrors fold if you push them right. They also snap right back. But if you happen to push just slightly too hard, maybe at an angle that puts stress on the mounting point, sometimes they develop a problem. Nothing obvious at first, just a looseness that gets worse over time. The kind of thing that needs repair eventually, preferably at a dealership service center. The mirror clicked when I folded it, clicked again when I returned it to position. Small sound, barely audible. I walked into the showroom, caught the receptionist's attention. "Sorry, forgot to leave my card with the service manager," I said. "Just want to make sure you've got contact info for the permit closure." She took my card, assured me they'd add it to the file. I thanked her, left again, drove back to work. 3 hours later, Victoria texted that she'd be late. Department dinner, mandatory attendance, probably wouldn't be home until 10. I texted back, "No problem, have fun." I made myself dinner, pasta with sauce from a jar, ate in front of the television with the sound low. Then I changed into dark jeans and a dark jacket, grabbed a baseball cap from the closet, and drove to the Italian place downtown. Rossini's, with the patio seating and the wine list. Parking was 2 blocks away, street spots under a broken light I'd marked as needing repair in my mental catalog. I walked to the restaurant, stayed across the street, positioned myself where I could see the patio through a gap between buildings. They were at a corner table. Victoria in the blue dress again, Tyler in his suit jacket with no tie, wine glasses, appetizers, the kind of intimate dinner that wasn't about business unless your business was intimacy. I watched for 15 minutes, watched them laugh, watched Victoria reach across the table to touch his hand, watched Tyler lean in close to say something that made her smile. Then I walked to the Audi, parked in the restaurant lot with other expensive vehicles belonging to other people having other important dinners. The driver's side mirror was already loose from earlier. Didn't take much to make it worse. Just pressure in the right direction, at the right angle, until the mount housing cracked audibly. I folded it flat against the door, walked back to my truck, and went home. Victoria arrived at 10:40, smelling like wine and someone else's cologne. She kissed my cheek, first time in weeks, and said the dinner had been exhausting but productive. "Glad you had a good time," I said. "It was work," she said. "Not exactly good time territory." "Right," I said. "Work." She looked at me, trying to read subtext, but I gave her nothing. Just a tired smile and a comment about going to bed early. She went upstairs first. I stayed in the kitchen, listening to water run in the bathroom above, and I thought about Tyler Brennan discovering his broken mirror in the morning. Thought about him calling the dealership service center, explaining the damage, maybe wondering how it happened. Thought about him starting to realize that visibility runs both directions. That being seen isn't always the same as being in control. The next morning I woke before Victoria, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table reviewing emails on my phone. She came down at 7:15, already dressed, already moving like she had somewhere important to be. "Early start?" I asked. "Meeting at 8, she said. "Compliance review." "On a Thursday?" They scheduled it last minute. She grabbed coffee, skipped breakfast, kissed my forehead absently on her way out. The gesture felt automatic, muscle memory from better times, performed without thought or meaning. I gave her 10 minutes, then I left too. Drove to the municipal office, clocked in, spent an hour on paperwork before my phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Dealership territory. I let it go to voicemail. Checked the message 15 minutes later while sitting in my truck outside a residential inspection site. Tyler's voice, professional but tight, asking me to call regarding a follow-up question about yesterday's inspection. I didn't call back. Not yet. Let him wait. Let him wonder. Let the absence of response build pressure in whatever scenario he was constructing. Instead, I drove to the inspection, spent 2 hours checking a basement renovation, documented everything properly, filed my report. Normal day, normal work, nothing unusual in my routine. Tyler called again at noon. I answered this time, sitting in the parking lot of a sandwich shop, watching people come and go through glass doors. "This is about the dealership inspection?" I said. "Yes," Tyler said. I wanted to clarify some details about the permit closure. "Inspection passed," I said. "Reports filed. Everything's documented." "Right, I noticed you were asking about security cameras yesterday." I hadn't asked about security cameras, but apparently Tyler had reviewed footage, seen me in the lot after hours, and now he was fishing for explanations. "Didn't ask about cameras," I said. "Asked the receptionist where to leave my card?" "No, I mean, you were in the lot Wednesday evening, after hours." "Looking at inventory," I said. "Thought about buying a car. You were there for less than 5 minutes. Wasn't impressed with what I saw." Silence on his end. The kind that comes when someone realizes they've revealed they were watching you without admitting why they were watching. "Just wanted to make sure everything was okay," he said finally. "Why wouldn't it be?" "No reason, just being thorough." "Thoroughness is good," I said. "Keeps things clear." "Right," he said. "Well, if you need anything..." "I know how to reach you," I said. I hung up before he could respond, sat there eating my sandwich while replaying the conversation. He was nervous. Not scared yet, but nervous, the way people get when patterns start emerging that they can't quite explain. Good. Nervous people made mistakes, and I needed him to make mistakes. That evening, Victoria came home at her usual time, seemed distracted, checked her phone more than normal. She made dinner, rare occurrence lately, and we ate together at the kitchen table like civilized adults pretending everything was fine. "How was your day?" she asked. "Inspections," I said. "Same as always." "Anything interesting?" "Define interesting." "I don't know. Anything different from routine?" "Everything's routine," I said. "That's the point of the job." She nodded, pushed food around her plate, checked her phone again. Screen lit up with a message, but she read it without opening the app, preview text visible only to her. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine," she said. "Just tired." "Long day?" "Long week." It's only Thursday. Feels longer, she said. We finished dinner in silence. She went upstairs early, claimed exhaustion, closed the bedroom door. I cleaned up, washed dishes, listened to her voice through the ceiling, low and urgent, the tone of someone handling a situation that required careful management. I pulled out my laptop, opened my spreadsheet, added Tyler's phone calls to the timeline. 2 calls, 1 voicemail, increasing urgency. Pattern of someone losing confidence in their control of the situation. Then I opened a browser, searched for Brennan Family Motors hours of operation. They closed at 8 on weekdays, 6 on Saturdays, closed Sundays. Tyler's schedule was visible on their website. He'd be at the dealership Friday morning for a promotional event, something about veteran discounts and community appreciation. Public event, visible presence, opportunity. I closed the laptop, sat in the dark kitchen, and planned my next move. Because the thing about pressure is it works best when applied strategically. Not all at once, not overwhelming force, but steady incremental stress that builds until something breaks. Tyler was starting to feel that pressure, starting to wonder who was watching and why and what it meant. Soon he'd understand exactly what it meant, and by then it would be too late to do anything about it. The mirror was just the beginning. Tyler got it fixed, obviously. His family owned the dealership, repairs were free, and a broken side mirror wasn't exactly a crisis. But it established something important. Proof that I could reach him. That his expensive car and his expensive life weren't insulated from consequences just because he thought they should be. I didn't do anything else immediately. That would have been obvious, would have created a pattern that invited investigation. Instead, I went back to routine. Inspections, paperwork, evenings at home with Victoria pretending we were still something resembling a couple. But I kept watching, and I kept finding holes in their operational security. Tyler maintained a calendar online, synced to his social media for business purposes. Upcoming appearances at community events, dealership promotional activities, charity involvement. The kind of public presence that made him seem civic-minded while generating sales leads. One of those events was coming up Saturday. Youth sports sponsorship presentation at Riverside Park. Brennan Family Motors sponsored a Little League team. Tyler would be there personally, handing out jerseys, taking photos with kids, playing the role of community pillar. Victoria mentioned Friday night that she had plans Saturday afternoon. Lunch with a colleague, she said. Probably run long because this colleague liked to talk. Which colleague? I asked. Jennifer from Compliance Review, she said. You haven't met her. Where are you going? That new place on River Street, the one with the outdoor seating. Sounds nice, I said. Have a good time. River Street was 3 blocks from Riverside Park. Saturday morning, I told Victoria I was heading to the hardware store, maybe check on a project site after, wouldn't be home until late afternoon. She seemed relieved to have space, probably already planning how to coordinate timing with Tyler. I drove to Riverside Park at 11:30. Event was scheduled for noon, but setup was already happening. Banners, folding tables, someone testing a microphone. Tyler's Audi sat in the parking lot. Hood cool, been there a while. I parked at the far end, put on my baseball cap and sunglasses, and walked through the park like someone enjoying autumn weather. Kept distance, stayed mobile, didn't establish presence anywhere long enough to be memorable. Tyler showed up at the presentation table at 11:50, all smiles and handshakes, working the small crowd of parents and kids who'd gathered for the sponsorship ceremony. Photos were taken, jerseys were distributed. Everyone loved Tyler Brennan, generous local businessman supporting community youth. Victoria arrived at 12:20, parking 2 streets over, walking through the park with her phone to her ear like she was just cutting through on her way somewhere else. She stopped near the tree line, 30 yards from the presentation area, watching. Tyler saw her, made eye contact across the distance. Slight smile, nothing obvious, just enough to acknowledge her presence. They didn't approach each other. Too public, too many witnesses, too much risk. But they lingered in proximity for 20 minutes, occupying the same space without officially sharing it, and that proximity told the story clearly enough. I photographed them. Not together, that would have been pointless, but separately. Time-stamped images showing both present at the same location at the same time when Victoria was supposed to be at lunch on River Street, and Tyler was supposed to be focused on community service. Then I walked back to my truck and drove to River Street. Found the restaurant Victoria had mentioned, the one with outdoor seating. Went inside, asked to speak with a manager. I'm trying to find my wife, I said. She was supposed to meet a colleague here for lunch, but I need to reach her about a family emergency. Can you check if she has a reservation? Manager was sympathetic, checked the system, came back shaking her head. No reservation under that name, she said. We're not too busy, though. Want to look around? I did. Victoria wasn't there. Colleague Jennifer from Compliance Review wasn't there. Nobody was there having the lunch that was supposedly the reason Victoria couldn't be home. Must have been a different place, I said. Thanks for checking. I drove home, made lunch, waited. Victoria arrived at 3:30, carrying shopping bags from stores she definitely hadn't been to. How was lunch? I asked. Long, she said. Jennifer talks a lot. Get anything interesting at the shops? She glanced at the bags like she'd forgotten them. Few things. Sales. Which stores? Just the usual places. Nothing exciting. She took the bags upstairs. I didn't follow, didn't need to. The bags were props, purchases made quickly to support a cover story. The kind of last-minute detail work that people do when they are running out of time to make fiction match expected reality. I added the day's observations to my encrypted spreadsheet. Photos, timestamps, the absence of Victoria at the restaurant, the presence of both of them at the park, pattern documentation, behavioral evidence, the steady accumulation of facts that painted a picture no lawyer or therapist or marriage counselor could explain away. Then I started phase 2. Sunday morning I drove to Brennan Family Motors. Closed on Sundays, lot empty except for display vehicles behind the chain link perimeter. I parked across the street, walked along the sidewalk with my phone out like I was checking directions. The dealership had security cameras covering the lot. Standard equipment for any business holding inventory worth millions. But security cameras need maintenance, especially outdoor cameras exposed to weather. And maintenance records are public information for businesses operating under municipal permits. I'd already reviewed those records. Brennan Family Motors had installed their system 8 years ago, upgraded it twice, most recently 4 years back. The company that did the work was local, family-owned, the kind of place where everybody knew everybody. I knew the owner's nephew. Guy named Patrick Daugherty, did electrical work on the side, sometimes grabbed beers after shift. Good guy, talked too much when he drank, didn't always understand discretion. Monday, I ran into Patrick at the supply house. Pure coincidence, because I'd checked his work schedule and knew he'd be there around lunchtime. Hey man, I said. Been a while. We chatted, talked about work, about projects. I mentioned I was looking at getting security cameras for my house, asked if his uncle's company did residential. Sure, Patrick said. Commercial mostly, but we do residential. You want me to get you a quote? Maybe, I said. How reliable is the newer equipment? I saw some online reviews saying maintenance is a pain. Patrick launched into technical details, explaining different systems, different companies, different maintenance schedules. He was proud of his expertise, wanted to demonstrate knowledge. The stuff we installed at Brennan Motors is solid, he said. Top-tier system, covers everything. Only headache is they want footage reviewed constantly, paranoid about insurance claims. They keep everything recorded? 30-day rolling storage, he said. Cloud backup, the whole deal. Expensive? But when you're holding that much inventory, makes sense. Who reviews it? Tyler Brennan, mostly. He's big on security. Wants to know every car that comes and goes. I filed that information away. Thanked Patrick, told him I'd think about the residential quote, moved on. Tyler reviewed his own security footage, which meant Tyler would see his own movements, his own schedule, his own patterns documented in time-stamped video. It also meant he'd see anyone else who visited the lot, anyone who lingered near vehicles, anyone who appeared more than coincidentally. Tuesday evening, Victoria came home early, seemed agitated. She paced the kitchen while I made dinner, checked her phone repeatedly, finally took a call that sent her outside to the back deck where she thought I couldn't hear. I could hear. Not words, just tone. Urgent, defensive, increasingly frustrated. She came back inside 10 minutes later, face tight with stress. Everything okay? I asked. Fine, she said. Didn't sound fine. Just work complications. Anything I can help with? No, she said quickly. Nothing you can help with? Okay, I said. Let me know if that changes. We ate dinner in silence. She barely touched her food, kept glancing at her phone, finally excused herself and went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close, heard her voice resume, low and urgent again. I cleaned up dinner, then I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and did more research. Tyler's social media showed constant updates, photos from events, testimonials from satisfied customers, the carefully curated life of someone building a brand. But his personal accounts told different stories. Check-ins at restaurants, at bars, at locations that didn't match his professional calendar. Recent photos showed him at a concert downtown, at a sporting event, at places that suggested free time and leisure and availability. None of those check-ins included Victoria. They were careful about that, but the timestamps aligned. Tuesday night concert when Victoria had worked late, Thursday afternoon sporting event when she'd had an off-site meeting, Saturday evening bar when she'd claimed exhaustion and gone to bed early, pattern after pattern after pattern. Wednesday evening, I drove past the dealership again. This time, I pulled into the lot during business hours, walked into the showroom like a legitimate customer. A salesperson approached immediately, young guy with good teeth and better suit. "Help you find something?" he asked. "Just looking," I said, thinking about upgrading. "What are you driving now?" F-150, I said. "Getting old. Maybe time for something newer." He walked me through inventory, talking features and financing and all the things salespeople talk about when they think you're serious. I asked questions, seemed interested, let him build rapport. "Tyler around?" I asked eventually. "Heard he's good to work with." "He's in a meeting," the salesperson said, "but I can help you just as well." "I'm sure you can," I said. "Just heard good things about him specifically." "I can leave him a message that you stopped by. What's your name?" "Don't worry about it," I said. "I'll come back another time." I left without buying anything, without leaving information, just another browser who'd wasted their time. But I'd been there, visible, present, another appearance in their security footage, another timestamp showing interest in Tyler's business, building pressure, creating pattern, making him wonder. Thursday morning, Tyler called my phone again. I let it ring. He left a voicemail, toned sharper now, less professional courtesy and more direct demand for contact. I didn't call back. Thursday afternoon, Victoria came home crying. First time I'd seen her cry in months. She went straight upstairs, closed the bedroom door, stayed there until evening. I knocked eventually. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she said through the door, voice thick, unconvincing. "Want to talk about it?" "No." "Okay," I said. "I'm here if you change your mind." She came down at 8, eyes red, makeup removed, sat on the couch without turning on the television, just stared at the wall like it had answers she needed. "Something happened at work," she said finally. "Want to tell me about it?" "There's a situation," she said. "Complicated. Might affect my job." "How?" "I can't explain right now." "Is someone giving you trouble?" She looked at me then, really looked, and something in her expression shifted. Fear, maybe, or recognition that the walls were closing in and she didn't know which direction to run. "Something like that," she said. "Need me to do anything?" "No," she said. "I need to handle it myself." "Okay," I said. "Let me know if that changes." She went back upstairs. I stayed on the couch, listening to her pace above me, hearing her phone ring repeatedly, hearing her ignore most calls and answer others with that same urgent tone. Everything was falling apart. Not explosively, not dramatically, but systematically. Like a building failing one support beam at a time, each collapse making the next one inevitable. And I was the one removing those supports. Carefully, methodically. With the same precision I used for electrical work and permit reviews and all the other jobs that required attention to detail and understanding of how systems worked, how they worked, and how they failed. Friday morning, Victoria left early without saying goodbye. I watched her drive away, then I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and reviewed my spreadsheet one more time. Everything was documented. Every observation, every timestamp, every piece of evidence showing exactly what had been happening while I'd been pretending not to notice. I closed the laptop, finished my coffee, and started planning the final phase. Because social collapse wasn't the end. It was just the foundation. What came next would be the structure built on that foundation. And Tyler Brennan was about to understand exactly what kind of structure I was capable of building. Tyler broke first. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. I let it go to voicemail, checked the message 20 minutes later. Tyler Brennan, voice tight with control, asking me to call him back regarding a professional matter. I didn't call back. Made him wait. Made him wonder whether I'd gotten the message, whether I cared, whether his attempt at establishing contact meant anything to anyone. He called again Saturday morning. This time I answered. "This is Tyler Brennan from Brennan Family Motors," he said. Professional voice, sales voice, the tone that suggested authority and reasonableness. "I wanted to follow up about your interest in our inventory." "I haven't expressed interest in your inventory," I said. Pause. Recalibration. "The receptionist mentioned you'd called, and our security footage shows you visited the lot Wednesday evening." "Looked at some cars," I said. Didn't realize that required follow-up. "It doesn't," he said quickly. "Just wanted to make sure you had all the information you needed." "I have everything I need," I said. Another pause, longer this time. Background noise on his end, voices, movement, the ambient sound of the dealership floor on a busy Saturday. "Can I ask how you heard about our dealership?" he said. "Public business," I said. "Hard to miss with all those flags." "Right," he said. "Of course. Well, if you decide you want to discuss options, I know how to find you," I said. I hung up before he could respond. That evening, Victoria suggested we go out for dinner. First time in months she'd initiated anything social. She picked an Italian place, not Rossini's, but similar, somewhere public with tables close together and ambient noise that made private conversation difficult. "We should talk," she said after we ordered. "About what?" "About us, about where we are." "Where are we?" I asked. She looked uncomfortable, shifting in her seat like the chair wasn't cooperating. "I feel like we've been disconnected lately, like we're roommates more than partners." "That's accurate," I said. "Don't you think we should try to fix that? Do you?" "I wouldn't be bringing it up if I didn't." I studied her across the table. She was trying so hard to seem sincere, to project concern and investment and all the things that made her sound like someone who wanted to repair a relationship, but her phone sat face down next to her wine glass, and she kept glancing at it, like it might spontaneously combust if she stopped monitoring it. "What would fixing it look like?" I asked. "I don't know. Therapy, maybe? Couples counseling?" "You want to go to therapy. I think it might help." "Help with what, specifically?" She frowned. "With our communication, with understanding what went wrong." "Nothing went wrong," I said. "Things went exactly where they were always going." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Means I'm not interested in therapy," I said, "but I appreciate you asking." Her expression hardened. "You're not even willing to try?" "Try what?" "Sitting in an office explaining to a stranger that my wife thinks I'm too stupid to notice she's having an affair." The table went silent. Not just our table. The whole section seemed to absorb the word affair, like sound insulation, conversations pausing while people pretended not to listen. Victoria's face went through several colors. Red, then white, then something in between. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out for several seconds. "I'm not," she started. "Yeah," I said. "You are. And I don't care about explanations or justifications or whatever story you've prepared. I just care about making sure you understand I know." "How long have you—" "Doesn't matter," I said. "What matters is what happens next." "Are you threatening me?" "No," I said. "I'm informing you. Big difference." She grabbed her phone, purse, stood up fast enough to knock her chair back. Several people looked over openly now, no pretense of privacy. "I'm leaving," she said. "Okay," I said. "We're not done talking about this." "Yes, we are," I said. "Talking doesn't accomplish anything anymore. If it ever did." She walked out. Didn't storm, didn't make a scene, just left with quick steps and rigid posture, the body language of someone fleeing a situation they couldn't control. I finished my meal, paid for both of us, drove home at a leisurely pace, listening to classic rock, feeling nothing resembling satisfaction or triumph or any of the emotions that people expect from confrontation. Just calm. Just focus. Just the methodical certainty that comes from executing a plan exactly as designed. Victoria's car was in the driveway when I got there. I parked behind it, boxing it in, went inside. She was upstairs in the bedroom, door locked, voice audible through the wood. Talking fast, talking urgent, talking to Tyler. I didn't interrupt. Just went to my truck, grabbed my toolbox, came back inside, and started removing doorknobs. All of them. Every interior door in the house. Bedroom, bathroom, closets, everything. Clean work, no damage to the wood, just unscrewing mounting hardware and pulling mechanisms out, stacking them neatly on the dining room table. Victoria came out of the bedroom after the third door, found me working on the hall bathroom. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Maintenance," I said. "These locks are old, replacing them." "Right now?" "Good a time as any." "This is insane." "This is my house," I said. "My name on the deed. My electrical in the walls, my plumbing under the floors. You're welcome to leave any time, but while you're here, doors stay unlocked." She stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. "You can't just—" "Already did," I said. She went back upstairs. I finished the doorknobs, put my tools away, sat in the living room with my laptop. Tyler called my phone at 9:30. I let it ring. He called again at 9:45. Again at 10. Left a voicemail that I didn't listen to. At 10:30, someone knocked on my front door. Hard knock, urgent, the kind that meant trouble or panic or both. I opened it. Tyler stood on my porch, still wearing his dealership clothes, hair slightly messed, breathing hard like he'd been moving fast. "We need to talk," he said. "No, we don't," I said. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "There hasn't," I said. "You think I'm some kind of obstacle you can negotiate around. You're wrong." "Look, I don't want trouble." "Then you should have stayed away from my wife." His face changed, confidence cracked, replaced by something that looked like fear wearing anger's mask. "She's not your property," he said. "Never said she was," I said. "But you're on my property right now, and if you don't leave, I'm calling the police to explain that a man showed up at my house at night making threats." "I haven't threatened anyone." "Your word against mine," I said, "and I'm the homeowner dealing with an aggressive stranger on my doorstep." He took a step back, then another, hands up in surrender position, retreating down the steps. "This isn't over," he said. "Yeah," I said. "It is. You just don't realize it yet." I closed the door, locked it, watched through the window as he stood in my driveway for 30 seconds trying to figure out his next move. Then he got in his Audi and left, tires squealing slightly on the turn, the sound of someone whose control had slipped and who didn't know how to get it back. Victoria came downstairs 10 minutes later. "He came here?" she asked. "He left," I said. "What did you say to him?" "Told him the truth, that this is over." "You don't get to decide that." "Already did," I said. "You can stay or go. But if you stay, you follow my rules. No locked doors, no secret calls, no Tyler. You want to be here, you're here honestly or not at all." "That's not reasonable." "Probably not," I agreed. "But it's what's happening." She looked at me like she was seeing someone new, someone she hadn't accounted for in her planning. The quiet husband who fixed things and paid bills and didn't make demands had been replaced by someone else, someone who'd taken control of the situation without asking permission or offering negotiations. "I need time to think," she said. "Take all the time you want," I said. "But take it somewhere else. Pack a bag, stay with a friend, come back when you've decided whether you want to actually be married or just pretend to be." "You're kicking me out?" "I'm giving you space to think clearly," I said. "Without complications, without secret phone calls, just you and your choices." She went upstairs. I heard drawers opening, closet doors sliding, the sounds of someone packing quickly. 20 minutes later, she came down with an overnight bag, face set in anger and confusion, and something that might have been grief if I was feeling generous about interpretation. "This is a mistake," she said. "Then don't make it," I said. "Stay here. Be honest. Start over." She looked at the bag in her hand, at the door, at me, weighing options, calculating outcomes, trying to figure out which choice hurt least. Then she walked out. I stood in the quiet house, surrounded by furniture I'd assembled and floors I'd refinished and walls I'd painted, and I felt the kind of peace that comes from finally stopping pretending everything was fine. My phone buzzed. Text from Tyler. "You made a big mistake tonight." I typed back, "No, you made the mistake 6 months ago. Tonight I just made you aware of it." Then I blocked his number, blocked Victoria's number, poured myself a drink, and sat in the dark living room listening to the house settle around me. Monday morning, I'd file paperwork at the courthouse. Tuesday, I'd change the locks. Wednesday, I'd remove Victoria's name from the joint accounts we'd maintained. But tonight, I just sat there, surrounded by proof that I'd built something solid, something real, something that would outlast whatever temporary comfort Victoria and Tyler thought they'd found in betrayal. The house was mine. The anger was gone. What remained was clarity. And clarity, I'd discovered, was its own kind of revenge.